This video is going to talk about the weighted average cost model. It's the third in the series of cost flow assumptions. Weighted average cost is used in a periodic inventory system, which means that we're only going to calculate the weighted average cost of all of our inventory once for a given period. So weighted average cost is exactly what it sounds like. We're going to try and figure out if we took all the inventory items that we started the month with or the period with, plus all of the purchases from the period, if you add all those up together and divide it by the total number of units, that's going to tell you on average how much did each item in inventory cost you. So because periodic inventory is only done every once in a while, it makes sense that we only calculate the weighted average once in a while. It makes it really simple when we want to come up with our cost of goods sold or our ending inventory. The first step is to calculate the weighted average for the period, and then if we want cost of goods sold, all you have to do is take that weighted average cost and multiply it by the number of units you sold. If you want to calculate your ending inventory, what you do is you take that weighted average cost and you multiply it by the number of units in ending inventory. So again, weighted average is used in a periodic inventory system. So let's take a look right now at that example that we've been using in the first two videos with the jeweler with the 3 rings. We're now going to apply the weighted average cost model to that scenario. We're going to calculate the weighted average cost for all the rings, then we're going to use that weighted average cost to calculate ending inventory and cost of goods sold. Alright, so same situation. The jeweler has no opening inventory. On February 5th, they purchase a ruby ring. On the 14th of February, they purchase a diamond ring, which they later sell 2 days later for $14,000. And then on the 23rd of February, they purchase an emerald ring for $3,000. Just a reminder, that $14,000 there, when you see that in these types of questions on sales dates, that has nothing to do with the cost of goods sold. That's simply the sales price. So from that, I could ask you to calculate the gross profit on the sale by taking the sales price and subtracting the cost of goods sold. Okay, so that's the only thing that it's there for. So looking at this question, we've got the weighted average periodic method that we're using. So we need to calculate the cost of goods sold and the ending inventory for the month of February. Again, remember, under weighted average, we only calculate the average cost once for the entire period. So step 1 is to calculate that average cost. Average cost, or the weighted average cost, is a function of the total inventory value plus the total inventory units. Total inventory value is typically your opening inventory plus all of your purchases for the month. In this case, there was no opening inventory, so our total inventory value is a function of purchase on the February 5th, the purchase on February 14th, and the purchase on February 23rd. If you add those 3 purchases up, we have a total inventory value of $15,000. We're going to divide that by the total number of inventory units, right? And there's 1, 2, 3 separate rings in inventory, so 15,000 divided by 3 units means that the average cost of the rings in this jeweler's inventory are $5,000. We can now use that $5,000 to calculate and answer the question. We need to calculate ending inventory and cost of goods sold. So to come up with our cost of goods sold, all we need to do is take that weighted average cost, right, and multiply it, weighted average cost, which we said was $5,000, and multiply it by the number of rings we sold. Well, the only ring that we sold during the period was on February 16th, so we sold 1 ring at an average cost of $5,000. So my cost of goods sold for the month of February using the weighted average method is $5,000. We also have to calculate ending inventory. And using this example, it's pretty simple to come up with ending inventory. In other examples that you'll find in the textbook and likely on your test, the numbers will be much bigger. So I'm walking you through the actual calculation to figure out how many units do you have in ending inventory so that you can apply this model to other questions. So the way we calculate our ending inventory under this methodology is we start with our opening inventory, which we had no units in opening inventory. Then we're going to add in all the units that we purchased, and during the month of February we purchased 3 units. Which means our opening inventory of 0 plus our purchases of 3 units means that we have total units available to sell of 3. To come up with what's left in ending inventory, all we have to do is simply subtract the number of rings we sold, right? So we had 3 rings that we could have sold during the month. The only ring we did sell was the diamond ring, so we only sold 1 unit, which means that we should still have 2 units left in ending inventory. When you multiply that by the weighted average cost that we calculated up above, that $5,000. 2 times 5,000 means that our ending inventory should be $10,000. That's all there is to the weighted average method, okay? It's used in a periodic inventory system. We calculate the weighted average cost once for the entire period, and then we use that weighted average cost to answer any questions that you might be given. The ending inventory, the cost of goods sold, right? So if I ask you for cost of goods sold, you're going to take the number of units you sold and multiply it by that weighted average cost. You're going to take that same weighted average cost and you're going to multiply it by the number of units in ending inventory to get your ending inventory value. It's that simple.